tonight we are welcoming Christina Martin and Julie Kim to the webinar series. Tonight they're going to talk about the ins and outs of print competition, I hope specifically for Maryland PPA, and to touch a little bit upon IPC coming up. So if you are new to Maryland and don't know much about print competition, this webinar is really going to be good and educational for you. So sit back and pay attention, and please welcome Christina Martin and Julie Kim. Ladies, please take it away.
Hi, everybody. This is Christina.
Hi, Christina.
Julie is going to share her screen in just a moment and get our program started here. It's very exciting to see so many new faces, and we're always very excited to have more people do print competition because you get to learn so much and grow as a photographer.
Can't hear anybody. What is going on?
You can't hear anybody? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay.
So
Can you hear me now?
My fancy computer has only one USB port, so it's either headphones or webcam.
Ah, gotcha.
I can try the computer's webcam, but it's pretty grainy. Here we go. Technology, I tell you.
I know.
Try it now.
Hi, Sam.
Oh, hey, there we go.
There's Sam.
So please recruit Samantha Marshall. She said she wanted to help with print competition.
I heard that, Sam. I just heard that today. That's quite exciting. We might have to take you up on that.
Yes, we have plenty of work.
Absolutely.
Hey, Jake Ethel, I see you.
All right, Julie, got a slideshow for us? What's going on?
I do, sorry.
Yeah, we're waiting on you, hon. Waiting on you, babe.
That's because I was off my audio, so I didn't hear that y'all were ready for me. Sorry.
Oh.
So glad to see everybody and hear everybody. Okay, so I have to share. I should know how to do this. I do this for a living. I'm on it. Okay, there we go. Can y'all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Looks good, yep.
Yay, okay. All right, so we're glad everybody's here. We're doing another ins and out print comp. Oh, I'll learn how to talk. Ins and outs of print competition. And we'll give you some updates and answer some questions. I know we have some new people here, and I see some people I know. So let's go ahead and get started. And it's not advancing. Okay.
Do you need me to do it?
Well, it's I'm not sure why it's not advancing. No. Hold on. We're going to try it one more time. Can we see that now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And,
Yes.
but for some reason it doesn't advance. Why? Yeah, Christina, maybe I'll let you do it. And
Okey-dokey.
I can keep track of who's doing what from my end. I'm sorry.
Okay. Let's give it a shot here. Let's see here. Share. Okay. Can we see anything?
Not yet.
We're still looking
I
at
see
Julie's
somebody.
screen.
Sorry, Bruce.
Oh, all right, sorry. Stop sharing. Sorry. There we go.
That would be helpful. Okay, let's try it again here. Am I sharing now?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
It's just in the middle, but it's sharing.
Okay, so I'm going to try to do the slideshow, and hopefully that will come up here. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay. Alrighty then. So as Julie said, welcome. We were very excited to see some of our old friends and meet some of our new friends. This is a quick little agenda, kind of what we're going to go over today. Who's talking?
I'm going to go through and mute them. You keep going.
Okay. So anyway, we're going to go over these things today, and of course, any questions, please type them in. Danny will be manning that for us, and he'll let us know when we have questions, and certainly we want to give you guys as much information as we can because we're excited for everybody to join in to Print Comp. So a lot of people ask, why print competition? Here's some of the reasons we came up with. I've been doing this, what did I say, Danny, since 2003.
17 years.
17 years I've been on the print committee. The last 10, I've been the print chair. And Julie's helped me. She's my co-chair for what, 4 years now? 5 years?
4 or 5, I think. I think this
Something
is 5.
like that. So we update our slideshow every so often. So we meet lots of people that, like yourselves, that are interested in print competition. So we've come up with these things about why people want to do print competition. To challenge yourself is one. Learn how to improve your photographic skills. I know our friend Paul Biederman is online with us, and he can definitely attest to that. You can earn recognition and admiration from your peers and improve your business. That's one thing, because your skills are improving, you can actually hopefully improve what you're giving to your customer. It's very motivational, and it does inspire you to grow, to see, like Michael was saying, to see what everybody else has done and to see what they do and how they do it. And it's really pretty cool to learn. Some people are in it to earn degrees. You can earn local and national degrees, and we'll talk about them. And the nice thing about Maryland, which we're very proud of, is that we have multiple print competitions. So most affiliates, most PPA affiliates only have one. There's a few that have 2 per year, but we have 4 per year. So it really kind of makes us stand out a little bit. And it's great for you guys to get as much feedback as you can via critiques. So the different levels of print competition. The first one is local, of course, that's Maryland PPA. Yay, that's us. So we are the local state affiliate for PPA, and we have 3 times a year, we have something called a quarterly digital image competition. So this is all digital, no prints. So everything's online. It's pretty nice. We have it now to a point where it's kind of really good as far as that goes. Anyway, the best thing, and this is how I recommend, certainly you can do it any way you want, but so you want to start at the beginning of the year, put your images in, get critiques on them from the judges, and then if there's something that you can, if you're like close to an 80, and an 80 is the goal, because you want to get an 80 or above, which is a merit image. If you are close to an 80, you might be able to take what the judges say and fix your image and make it a little bit better, and then the next time put it in, and hopefully you got a better score. What you do is you do this throughout the year, and then when you have a score where you're happy with, you go to the annual print competition and you put it in, and then from there you go to the
Districts.
district or IPC, which we're going to talk about in a second. So as I put on here, that the best thing is to take notes of what the judges say, not just about your images, but everyone's images. That's one of the best things of how you can learn through doing print competition, is to learn what they say about other people's images too. So go ahead and make the changes, enter again, and once it merits in the quarterly, that's the best time to go ahead and enter it into annual print competition. So the Southeast District is what Maryland is located in, and this is run by PPA. It's a district judging, and you can order the recorded critiques. Anything that merits here automatically will merit at IPC only if the image is entered unchanged and within the same year. So if you make any changes to it, then it doesn't automatically merit, because you may have changed something that they don't like about it. And then there's IPC, which of course is the international PPA print competition, and you can order the critiques again. You can earn your Master of Photography, Master of Wedding Photography, and the Master Artist degrees, which is really cool. We're not going to go into all of those specifically, but we can certainly, if anybody has any questions about them, we have links that you can click on, or you can certainly email us later and we can give you the links. So the Maryland PPA degrees that we have are 2 different ones, or kind of 3, I guess, but the Associate Fellow of Photography. If you see people, well, not right now, but when we see people in person, some people are wearing a little necklace, and it has, I call it the dingle dangles on there. It has little bars, and it has a little gold thing, a medallion at the bottom. The black one, the black ribbon, is for the Associate Fellow, and that's when you have 25 service merits. The service merits also include the education merits. So anytime we have certain classes, if they're 6.5 hours, and if the board has made them into a CE class, continuing education class, then you can earn PPA credits for that too, but you're also earning merits for Maryland PPA. So those are included in your service merits. The Fellow of Photography degree is the gold ribbon, and it has the gold medallion. That's also 25 merits, but 15 of those must be print merits, and the other 10 can either be service or print. So some people are really awesome at prints, and they might have 25 merits just doing prints. And other people do different things where they're attending classes or earning different service merits. The combined degree is the one where you'll see a black and gold ribbon combined, and it consists of everything that we just spoke of. So it's both of those things together. Now, once you've earned both of those, anything you attain above those, every 25, you get another gold bar. So you'll see some people have like several gold bars, and that's what those mean, that they have an extra 25 merits for those. Okay, Julie, is this you?
That's me.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about the image judging process. This refers specifically to MDPPA, mainly because for SEPA or Southeast and IPC, they would always have 5 judges plus a jury chairman. So we currently have some of our quarterly competitions are 3 judges, and our annual competition is 5 judges plus a jury chairman. All of the judges have attended the PPA judges training. So even if they're not an IPC affiliate juror, they have attended the PPA judges training, so they understand how it works. And most of those judges who are not already IPC judges, they are most likely jurors in training, or some of them might be past IPC jurors. Those are the folks I've used for judges. So each of the judges, either 3 or 5, will individually score the image, and then once the image is scored by everybody, the average score is announced, and every image is judged based on its own merits. So The judges don't sit there and compare an image to a past image that they just saw or something that they would do. They're supposed to judge it, each image based on its own merits. The average, yep, I already talked about the score. Judges may challenge the panel score as too low or too high. So if you're listening, for those of you who have done this many times before, you've heard judges say challenge. For those of you who are new, if a judge thinks that the score is higher or lower than what they think, like maybe they saw some errors in the image, or maybe they see something more in the image that makes they think it's great. So they're going to want the other judges to talk about it. So the challenge process, which we may talk about in more detail, but each judge has an opportunity to talk about the image. And then once each person talks about the image, then the person who challenged it will have a chance to rebuttal. Then just to tie up any loose ends for what the other jurors may have said, and they should always be speaking for the image if they're challenging it up. And then once the challenge is complete, then the judges will re-vote, and it can be challenged again by a different juror if somebody else thinks, if they're not happy with the score. It's fairly rare, but it does happen occasionally. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so this is our scoring. So for those of you who have been around a while, you know that PPA has just changed from merit to non-merit, so they won't be using the scores, the numbered scores anymore. But all of the affiliates, well, I can't speak for all the affiliates, but most of the affiliates and all of the people that I've spoken to who work with the print competition of their affiliates, they all are staying with the scoring system because it's a great tool for people to learn kind of, where the image falls, how, merit, non-merit, there could be a big range of, how well that image can do. And you want your image to be the best that it can be so that it has the chance to go low.
And 80, of course, is where you begin with a merit image. So,
yes.
And as it gets higher, obviously your image is better and better.
Yes. And just one more thing. So an 80 really it's like getting an A in school. So don't discount an 80 thinking it's, middle of the road or not that great. It really is great. It's pretty awesome to get a merit. Everything else is extra.
Yes. A lot of times the judge will say, this is a very nice image. I give it a 78, which is above average. And people go, oh, I didn't get an 80. That's okay. That just means you're really close and it's above average. So that means maybe you can do a little bit of extra work and get it up to an 80 or even higher.
Okay, so the next one is the majority challenge. And this automatic challenge takes place when the minority of the panel merits or prevents an image from meriting. So what that means is on a panel, just for example, on a panel of 3, there's 2 judges that are in the merit category and 1 judge is in the non-merit, and it's pulling that score into the non-merit. So it's saying, in that case, the majority is meriting it the minority is not meriting it where the other 2 judges maybe should talk about it because 2 judges think it should merit.
And it also goes in the reverse too.
Yes. Yeah, and the judges will discuss the image just like a challenge. So a judge could choose to take the challenge, and that would give them the opportunity to have a rebuttal at the end of the challenge process. But they don't have to. If the judges aren't, moved to take the challenge, then it can be assigned. And if the challenge is assigned to a judge, then they don't get the opportunity to rebuttal. And then if the majority challenge comes up again after it's discussed and rescored, then the second score stands. Okay, a few years ago, Christina and I went to the judging class ourselves, which was an awesome experience. I highly recommend it when you're able to do it again. Those of you who can do it, highly encourage you to go. You learn a lot, you meet a lot of great people, and just learn a lot of details about the judging process. Some of the things that we learned that were big takeaways for us, they encouraged the jurors to score an image within about 20 seconds. So that's the goal. They need to keep moving. With IPC, they have thousands of images to judge, and it takes multiple days, multiple panels, and they really need to keep moving. They talk about images when they need to talk about them, but if they don't need to be, if the judges aren't motivated or moved to speak about the image or to challenge it, then they just keep going. Jurors do not subtract points from 100 to arrive at the score. So what they do is they look at the image, and within 20 seconds they say, okay, I think it should be in this category, and then where in this category does it fall? And that's where the number comes from. The best judging panels have a mixture of photographers. Some are much more resonate with feelings and stories, and then others are, much more technical minded. So it's best I try to make sure I have a balance as much as possible. Sometimes it's harder because we have a panel of 3, but we do the best we can.
And Julie is our print chair procurer, so she actually is the one that is going out looking for IPC judges and trying to get them to come and judge for us. Sorry, Julie. Just wanted to
Don't apologize. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then just to wrap up this slide, the best images, the images that score the best, they have excellence in both the areas. Both these areas. It's been a long day. So the best images I've seen are the ones that tell a story and they evoke feelings in the viewer, but they also have a lot of technical excellence.
Yes. Okay, now mine's not going. Alrighty. Okay, so especially for some of you new people, you want to see judging and see all the ins and outs of all that. Their PPA has underneath their education, they have these videos that you can click on this link and you can see how images are judged. So that's something that if you really want to get into the details, you can certainly look into that. Okay. I think that's you again, Julie, right?
Yes, it is. Okay, so 12 elements of a merit print. These are, again, from PPA. And just to go through them real quick, there's impact, creativity, style, composition, print presentation, center of interest, lighting, subject matter, color balance, technical excellence, technique, and storytelling.
So technically what they're saying, what PPA is saying is that your merit image should have most of these, if not all of these. So when you're watching a print competition and an image comes up and you hear people go, oh, obviously that has impact. So it's very, people, it affects them. So the titles can really help with the storytelling. And but they're looking for all these other things. So normally the judges speak to this stuff and they will say, well, the lighting on this is a little blah, 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 or the subject matter or the color balance is not the best, or the technical stuff, blah, blah, blah. So they'll tell you they do speak to these elements.
Yes. And that's part of their training as well.
Yes. So we also have the 12 elements. You can watch their videos again to talk about, they'll talk more in depth about each one of those items and what they're talking about, and what they're looking for each of those. And Danny is recording this, and I believe we can actually put this out on our website, so you can just go ahead and click on these links to go and do this.
You do have to have a PPA membership
Yes.
to view the
Good
videos.
point. Yes. Okay, so the file preparation and submission. So we're mostly pretty much talking about Maryland PPA here, and we have on the website, hopefully if you guys are new to us, please check out the print competition tab on our website, and you will see instructions. This is our instructions on how to enter is listed as the quarterly print comp, entering your images. We use printcompetition.com to process the entry registration and the scoring. So that's going to be something you would need to sign up for. I'm not sure how much it is now, but it's like X number of dollars per quarter or so much per year, that type of thing. The more expensive one allows you to look at all their all the other images, and which really is quite helpful. Obviously, entry fees must be paid by the deadline, otherwise you cannot, your images will have to be removed. And the print rules. So we go through these every year, and sometimes even multiple times a year, and we have to go through these print rules. So if there seems to be a question or something seems unclear, we try really hard to make sure it's really spelled out, especially the categories. We were just speaking with Ted earlier, and this is something to become familiar with as far as what they're looking for each subject. Or excuse me, for each category. So of course, if you have any questions on those, let us know. So I mentioned before, the digital images are for quarterly competitions only. And the eligibility, you must be a member in good standing, and your dues should be paid up 30 days prior to the competition. Now, if you have not, if it's less than 30 days or you're a non-member, then you can certainly enter for score only. The only thing is you do not get the awards.
Christina, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yes, yes,
Can you
certainly.
clarify that very top bullet? You say digital images are only for quarterly competitions. Are you not accepting digital images for annual anymore?
Oh, we are, but okay. I'm sorry, we had this presentation set up just for the annual, and then when we went to go through it, we were like, oh, maybe we need to change it for the quarterlies. So Danny presents a very good question. Yes, so digital images for the quarterlies, that's all you can do is digital. For the annual, you can do digital or physical prints.
Okay, now I have one question for you from the
Yes.
chat room.
Mm-hmm.
Ted wants to know, is there a time limit on an image? Is there a time limit to submit an image? Like if the image was done 5 years ago, can you submit it to print competition, or is there a 2-year time frame? Is there some kind of time frame or time limit on when the image was made?
Not that I'm aware of. Okay. I have not heard of anything about that. Julie, can you speak to that? I haven't heard anything about that.
I'm sorry, repeat the question. I was reading a chat.
The question was basically, Ted wants to know, can he submit an image? Is there a timeline? Shoot.
Oh, is there
an image that might have been created 5 years ago, or is there a specific time period these images need to be created for competition?
Gotcha. No, there is not a specific time period. You can use images from 5 years ago if needed, or they can be passed. They just can't. You can't use them if they've merited that IPC.
Correct.
Or districts.
Or districts, right.
Years ago, there was a rule like that, but that's gone away a long time ago.
Okay. So the deadline for entries, we're speaking about the current one coming up in July. So Monday the 13th is the early deadline, and it must be submitted by 11 p.m. Thursday the 16th, 11 p.m. is the late deadline. So some people need a little extra time, that's fine. Then there's a little bit more of a fee, and you can see the entry fee and the number of entries allowed. It's $10 an image for the early and $15 an image for the late. The total number of images for the quarterlies as of this moment is 10 images total, and that is a maximum of 5 images per category. So that means if you have 10 images of illustrative, you cannot put all of them in. You would only pick 5 to put in this time. And then the whole idea is to be a well-rounded photographer, hopefully, and maybe you have some portraits, or maybe you have some wedding stuff or commercial stuff to put in. So that's what we try to limit it to, the 5 images per category. The exciting news for next year is we are going to go to 15 images per competition. So that's going to be very exciting. I'm sorry, what did you say, Julie?
I was going to add something quick for the deadlines for entries.
Yes.
So you can enter, you can put in your entry, sorry, you can register your entries on printcompetition.com and put placeholders in there with placeholder titles, and you can do that and pay by the early deadline, as long as you upload your images by the late deadline.
Correct. So as of right now, we have 7 categories: album, artist, commercial, creative, open, illustrative, portrait, and wedding events. So all those are in the in our print rules. So please feel free to check out the descriptions on them. And then if you have any questions, certainly give us a holler. Is this you or me, Julie?
Let me check my little screen here. This is a free-for-all.
Oh, okay.
I think
All right.
this was one that we updated. Has a lot of new things on it.
Okay. So some of the print rule reminders, a lot of times we get questions, or we see certain things that come in when we're preparing for print competition, and we just want to make sure that you guys are aware of them. One is the wedding category. We are now following what PPA has asked for this category, that the images must be made on the day of the wedding. So if you had a pre-bridal shoot a month before the wedding, that does not count. If you have a fun little get-together with, you have a model and you put her in a wedding dress, that does not count. So it has to actually be on the wedding day, on the day of the wedding. If you have those other situations that I just mentioned, you can certainly put them in the portrait category. That's totally legal, and that's fine. But that way, the wedding category, I think what they're talking here is, or why they're doing this, is because of the time limitations on the day of a wedding. So they understand that it's hard to do certain things in a timely manner on the day of the wedding. Some people have asked about entering the same subject. So typically, in the past, we have said no. However, PPA has now come out with something that says we can accept in the same competition the same subject, multiple entries of the same subject. However, the images must be significantly different from each other. If it's, say it's a high school senior, a different outfit, different pose, different cropping, etc. So each image must tell a different story. That's the best way we can explain it to you guys. If it looks the same as another one, then it's not going to tell a different story. So therefore, that would not be accepted. But if it looks different enough, then yes, you can certainly give that a try. Okay, so the commercial and artist categories, these are kind of important. The commercial, this is intended for the category is to sell a product or a service. So it's, you know, architectural, real estate, product photography. People and animals are allowed as long as they're not the main subject of the image. So for example, if it's just a headshot that would be like on somebody's website, that would be under portrait, because that's not anything but a headshot, and that would be a portrait. However, if it shows them doing something, I know we had one of our photographers, he took pictures of a chef, and the chef was cutting things up, and, you know, he had like food and he had, you know, different things going on. That's more of what a commercial image would look like. So that's the whole story, and the whole, they're not the main subject of the image. So it was really the whole thing instead of just the person. Anyway, tear sheets are not required, but they are encouraged, because it does help the judges to understand how this commercial product would be used, or how this entry is going to be used commercially. So the best example I can tell you guys is our friend Tammy Thompson. She had, she's been writing books. So she had this really lovely picture that she had done of a girl standing in a field, and it had some sky above it. But the thing is, it's like this wide, and here is the girl over here, and then it was all like blank, and you're like, well, that doesn't look very good. But the tear sheet, she actually had a physical copy of the book to show them, hey, this is what it turned out to look like. And they were like, oh, okay, so here's the title, here's, like, you know, the author, and then here's the spine, and then here's the stuff on the back. So it really made a lot more sense to them, and it helped her image. She ended up getting a best in show.
Christina,
So that was, yes, sir.
when you get to a point, I'm going to ask you a question, okay?
Sure. Do
You
you have a
ready?
question? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I was interrupting you, but there's something in the chat room that's very interesting, and I want you guys to comment on this.
Okay.
If a photographer submits something that was photographed at a seminar, a workshop, etc., are those images eligible for print competition?
No, they are not. Thank you for mentioning that. Anything that is taken, and I think that's coming up on the next slide or so, but
Okay.
anything taken at a seminar or a class is not accepted unless you are the instructor. So there are people out there that teach. The whole idea is, if somebody's helping you to do this, then this isn't really your work. So hopefully you learn from your classes, and then you can take that information and go do your own shoot. That's the whole idea of going to these classes and then doing the print comp. But you can't actually put anything in from your classes. So we just mentioned the commercial, where the tear sheet is not necessary, but it definitely is helpful, and that is uploaded as a separate file. So your image is entered, and then your tear sheet is entered, and that does pop up, and we do show them to the judges. So the artist category, this is very important to know the difference between the artist and some of these other ones. We were talking to Ted earlier about, should it be an artist category? Should it be a portrait? Should it be illustrative? So the artist category is very particular. And in this category, images are judged for the digital, artistic, and technical proficiency. So, and we have an example we're going to show you later on, but you have to have the guide images that you've used. So you're starting out, say, with 3, 5, 10 images, whatever, and you're using bits and pieces from them, and then you're creating a final product. So not only is your final product is what they're going to give you the score on, but they're going to look and see, what did you start with? And they're going to say, oh, wow, look at all the work that they did to make this work. And that's where it's very important to show them how much technical proficiency you have and the artistic stuff. This is where people get really creative, and they have like these, you know, outer space looking things, and, you know, all kinds of cool stuff. So it's very, if your image, you did a lot of work on it like that, then definitely put it in the artist category. If you just went and clicked on a button and turned it into a, if you just turned it into watercolor, for example, and all you did was hit a button. That's not very technical, and the judges know that. They know that there's something you can just click on, you know, a filter or whatever. They know that, so they're going to say, well, that was pretty easy to do. So don't put that in that category then. And we will show you examples of what the guide images look like. So they do need to be on the same mat. You want to make them smaller so that they aren't overpowering your main image, but you do need to show where you got your information from, or your images from. Okay. Okay, so Danny had just asked about this, that no images created during any instructional environment or part of a class assignment are allowed in competition unless you are the instructor. So the other thing that we do is, in order for this to work, we want everybody to learn and grow. So for example, years ago, we had somebody that had a really nice image, and it was a bunch of people standing, and I think they were like in silhouette, and it was really cool looking. It was a bunch of bridesmaids, and it scored really well. So the next print competition, the same image came back, cropped a little bit differently, and one person had flipped facing this way to facing this way. Okay, that is not the intent of print competition. So we don't want, while we say we don't want duplicates of previously merited images, if it's substantially similar. So some people might say, well, I clicked the button and then a minute later I click the button again. Those are two separate images. Well, if they look substantially similar, then we don't allow them in print competition. So, and that's singularly or part of a collection. If it's from a different original, negative, transparency, digital file. But so it must be new creative works made by the entrant. That's the best way we can, if you're not sure. Okay.
You want me to do this
fine.
one? Okay, I was just asking because I didn't want to wear your voice out.
I'm okay, yes.
We have a couple of updates for the image critiques. For those of you who have been here before and have been to a live in-person judging, if you were in the room, the maker could ask for a critique during the quarterly competition. And one of the judges, usually a lower scoring judge, would offer a critique of the image. So, and then a couple years ago, we went to an automatic critique. So any image that didn't merit and wasn't challenged would automatically get a critique. And what we've been finding is that the judging takes a lot longer and the scores actually end up being lower. And I've talked to a lot of other judges and people that run print competition. They say the slower the judges go, the lower the scores will be overall. So we still want people to learn and to be able to have the critiques. So when we start having in-person judging, again, at some point, you will be allowed, if you're in the room, the maker can ask for a critique. But for the online competition, we don't have a way to manage that. So we will not have automatic critiques anymore. But what we have is we'll be adding, and you'll notice if you have logged into your printcompetition.com account and started putting in entries, you'll see that you're now able to request a critique. And they're going to be $10 an image, and that's in addition to your entry fee. And what will happen is after the competition, the images will be distributed to the judges, and the judges will create a critique on their own time. It's basically a video, but you'll just see the image on the screen, and they'll do an audio, and they'll give you some helpful hints and talk to you about the image. And that generally lasts, more than a 30-second critique that we normally get in person. So it gives them time to think about it and to really give you some helpful feedback.
Usually they're about 3 to 5 minutes, and they really do dive in. It's really nice. If anybody has done PPA's competition, it's the same thing, where they offer the paid critiques.
And then what we'll do is after the we receive the critiques back from the judges, then they'll be delivered to the makers via a Dropbox. And that'll take, we estimate about 2 to 3 weeks. This is the first time we're doing it, so
bear with us.
bear with us and be patient.
Yes.
But it should be about that time frame.
Yes, that's what we're hoping. Okay.
Okay, and then for online judging, so July, if you may have seen the emails, so our next competition later this month on the 23rd will be online. All 3 of the judges are IPC judges. And I think you'll really like this panel. I don't think we have a slide on it, but we have Chris Duncan, who was originally going to judge and speak for us this month. He will just be judging. And we also have Larry Lorsey and Carrie Doma. And the judging, well, thanks to Bruce, who helped last time, he was able to stream our judging live via Facebook Live, which I kept telling him was above my pay grade. So I thank him again for doing that.
Thank you, Bruce.
I couldn't do it without you.
We have a quick question from the chat room.
Yes.
About the new paid critiques. If you pay for a critique ahead of time and your image score is an 80 or above, will they still critique it?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, they'll critique it. Yeah, they'll critique it even if they've challenged it. If you pay for a critique, you'll get a critique.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And so the judges will be viewing the images on their own calibrated monitors. Again, these are IPC judges. They enter competition actively. They have calibrated monitors. We didn't have any issues with judges viewing the images last time. They didn't see any, we didn't have anybody saying they had issues with the way the images looked. So I'm confident that they'll be fine. Let me see. Oh, and then, you get to watch judging from the comfort of your own home.
In your pajamas with a cup of
Yes,
coffee or
with your slippers
whatever.
on.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So PPA district and IPC judging is, I think you were talking about at the beginning before we got started. Districts have been canceled for 2020 due to COVID, and IPC judging has been pushed back. So the judging will be from October 28 to 23. The registration will open on August 24th. The early deadline will be September 28th, and the late deadline is October 6th. And just remember that PPA's deadline is at 5 p.m., not 11 o'clock like ours. So
and just to clarify, Julie and Christina, IPC is going to be all digital no matter what.
Yes, no prints.
There's no physical prints, right?
Okay. You are correct. And for additional information, go to the PPA website, and you'll get live updates there as they update their information.
Okay, so next we're going to talk about some helpful hints, especially for you people that are new. These are just things that we've picked up along the way from watching and listening to the judges. I apologize if some of you have been on this for years and you've watched us over and over, so some of these are going to be repeats, but so the titles, very important to kind of keep it simple. The KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid. Anyway, we've had so many different ones that maybe it's a French word. Well, guess what? I'm doing the announcing and I don't speak French. And most likely the judges don't either. So make sure you don't use things that are really hard to pronounce. Don't use abbreviations. Somebody put something in there about Las Vegas, Nevada, but they put Las Vegas NV. Technically, we're supposed to read it just the way it says. So if we said Las Vegas NV, that's probably not what you wanted us to say. So please spell out the words. Don't use abbreviations. And certainly it can be longer than 5 words, but in general, I'd say you want to kind of keep it simple. Obviously, the title really helps. A very unique title can help tell the image's story. And we had a friend of ours from years ago. She had a very beautiful cherry tree, like a blossom cherry tree. And I think she called it, like spring cherries or something like that. And they were like, no. So she changed it to something like blushing blossoms, something like that. The exact same image. She didn't touch the image, just changed the title, and it scored a merit on that one. So it's kind of crazy how a title can really help. So if you need ideas, certainly look at the printcompetition.com, and you can see everybody else's images, and you can see what people called them, and you really can pick up a few things from that.
So
Go
here's
ahead.
some things. I'm sorry. There's a question or a question from the chat room.
Mhm.
Are one-word titles good or bad?
Depending if they help the image. If it's not helping the image, if it's not helping to tell a story, then no. But if it's, maybe it's like a real impact thing, like they just did something and they go, voila. Of course, I just used like a French word, but voila.
Nice.
So, but something like that, yeah,
Right.
you could just do one word. That would be okay.
And it looks like Ann Looney is volunteering to teach a class on how to come up with image titles. Thanks, Ann.
Hey, Ann.
Okay, yeah, that's funny, Annie. Okay, so for the presentation mats, we're going to talk about a little bit about that, but there's the stroke and the key line. You kind of want to make sure that that's in color harmony with the image, and I'll show you what we mean by that in the next few here. So something like this, these are mine, but you want to make sure that when you have images that you're taking anything out that is a distraction. So the girl on the left has a tree growing out of her head, and the girl on the right has a flagpole coming out of hers, and there's some wires, electric wires on the right. It really is distracting to that girl. Even that little greenery on the left-hand side kind of sticking up out of the way, that's not doing anything for her. It's not framing her, it's just distracting. It's taking your eye away from the subject. So make sure that you get rid of those. The judges expect you to know how to remove those type of things. The best thing, of course, would be to look at that or think about that while you're actually taking the image, because then you could avoid that just by moving over a little bit and taking a picture over this way or at a different angle. Okay, this one you will hear, if you're a portrait photographer, you will definitely hear about this. The hands, especially for women, they want them to look ladylike. So for example, and I'm trying to show you guys from my camera here. So you can see here's my hand. And look how it's next to my face, right? How big is my hand compared to my face? Almost the same size. Well, guess what? If I'm taking a picture, somebody's taking a picture of me, what is the subject? My face or my hand? So the idea is when you turn it to the side, so you can just see the side view of the hand, now look how much smaller my hand is. And it doesn't compete with my face. It's now my face is bigger than my hand. So that's something to be aware of. And you can see this picture is, this image is very good at depicting that, of how you can see just the sides of her hand. So you will hear judges talk about that. So there's also something about cropping. So of course you want to use proper posing, which you can always look up stuff about how to pose, but you don't want to cut somebody off at a body joint, cut their body parts off. So if you cut something at the elbow, it looks like you literally are an amputee. If you cut off, something like at the shoulder, it looks like you don't have an arm. So you want to make sure that you include part of it and cut off in between. And I'm going to show you what we mean in the next slide. So especially for women on a body, if it can bend it. That's what they'll tell you. You know, bend your elbow, bend your hip, put your hip out. You know, just standing straight is very static. So arms straight down, everything is straight. No, they want to see, you know, a shoulder. They want to see the S curve or the C curve or that type of thing. So definitely work on bending those body parts. So here's the joints that we were talking about. So you can see how you could crop an image. And of course, you can see the first one is cropped in between the knee and the ankle. If it was cut off at the ankle, it looks like she's an amputee. If it's cut off at the knee, it looks like she's the amputee. So when you crop them, you can do it right in between the joints. So you can see all of these 5 images are all in between joints and nothing's being cut off to look funny or that type of thing. Okay, so we talked about the mat. Okay, so this is 2 examples of a mat. It can be a solid color, it can be a textured thing, it can be black, it can be white, it can be any color you want. So you can see the one on the right is just brown because that brown goes really well with her gold dress and with the brown and gold backdrop. So it makes sense to do it in brown. Notice that the stroke is gold. So you actually pick a color out of the picture and use that for there. Notice it's thin. You don't want to have something too thick because then it's taking away from the image. So that's the general gist in how to do that. Now the one on the left, after people have been doing this for a while, they kind of get a little creative and it's really nice. So this one on the left, you can see the actual, hopefully you can see it, is the little stroke around the image is actually a beveled edge. So it really makes it look kind of neat and something a little bit different, kind of gives it that 3-dimensional look. So you can certainly do anything like that. Those are just a couple different ways of doing that, but you're separating the image from the background. So they don't want to see just an entire image from wall to wall, if you will. They want to see some kind of a mat, if you will. Okay, I mentioned something about texture earlier, so you can see images that have texture, you can see are really, they really add to the image. Part of, you know, when they're talking about these images and I forget what the titles for these the titles were, but they did, the texture is helping to tell the story. So it's always a good way to add to your image. You want to look for triangles and groups of 3. So you can see the ducks, there's like a little triangle there, and then there's 3 ducks all in a row. So they're all lined up. It's kind of cute. The horse is over there. You could have 2 horses. You could have 4 horses. But for whatever reason, 3 is a very pleasing number as far as photography goes. And of course, the cute little dogs, you can see, yes, we have 3, and look at their heads, like their faces. You could actually draw a little triangle, an upside down triangle from one face to the other, back to the first. So that's very pleasing to the judges. They seem to like that type of thing. Okay, horizons. So a lot of people like to do outdoor photos, and the worst thing you can do is put your horizon right smack in the middle of the image, because then there's really no focus on below or above. Like what are you focusing on? So you can see in these images, obviously our focus on the left is the sunflowers. So do we really need a lot of sky? Not really. So we're really focusing on the sunflowers. So that's why that horizon is higher. And vice versa on the bottom, our main subject is the hot air balloon. So we don't really need a lot of ground. It's nice to have it a little bit just to kind of tie it down, but you don't need a lot of it. So judges will mention that usually and say, you know, it's more visually interesting is to have your horizons higher or lower, not in the middle. Okay, this, I'm sure anybody that's done any kind of classes or any kind of print competition, you've heard about placing the subject on the third. So it's just, once again, it's more pleasing. Notice for the bird, notice he's facing the left. So when you're when you were reading the picture, quote unquote, reading the picture, you are reading. When you normally read a book, you start at the left and you go right. So that's what they're saying that you do for pictures. So you're going from the left and you go right into the bird. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm coming into the bird. For if the bird was flipped around the other way, then you read and you would come in and you would get the back of him. Well, that's not impressive, and that's not really helping you, because you stop right there. And we have some examples we'll show you a little bit later about that type of thing. But you can see whether it's animals, people, whatever, putting them on the third is very, very helpful and makes it more visually interesting. If you have more than one subject, multiple subjects, you want to show the relationship, show the connection. They want to see this type of thing. But of course, it still has to be well lit and well posed and all the other things that they're looking for. But you definitely want to show the connection. Look for natural framing. So this was just a cool looking window, and it frames her perfectly with the little red trim around there. And then in the church, you can see there's those little arches. So if somebody, it's framing that, the altar thing. I don't know what that is there, but anyway, so you look for those type of natural framings.
Right, it tells the eye where to look.
Thank you, exactly. A lot of the judges really seem to like shapes. So circles and squares and rectangles and triangles. This one on the left with the staircase, they loved this image, loved it at the at our annual competition, and the judges could not get enough of this. So it's very visually interesting, and it does show you right where to look. So that's the whole idea. Of course, the one on the right has a lot of columns, and then it's got the stripes at the bottom, which are the shadows. I'm assuming that's probably a fence, but it's showing you right where to look. So that's where using shapes in your images can really help. Look for leading lines. So you can see the red barn, and you can see the bridge are literally leading you right to the bride and groom. So now that's showing you where to look in the image. On the one on the right, the two rows of lights, they're literally pointing right at the couple. So you know right where to look. So those leading lines are very helpful. Look for complementary colors. So if anybody, the color wheel, blues and oranges are complementary, reds and greens are complementary, and purple and yellow are complementary. So you can see why these look so interesting is because of those color combinations. Now, on the other hand, however, you do want to use some color harmony. So of course, this is referring mostly to the mat, but it will, if there's something sticking out in the background, the judges will call you out on it. So you definitely want to make sure that the color harmony is there. And you can see from all three of these images how they just jump out at you, really jump, because the color harmony is just amazing. All of these scored really, really well at our print competition. And because of the color harmony is so nice. So hopefully that helps you guys with that a little bit. Okay, so earlier we were talking about the artist category, and we did have somebody that was new, and she was trying to do the artist category, and she didn't really know about these extra images. So these are the guide images, and they must be included on the same mat. So you can see from these two images the main image is bigger, and then the smaller images on the side are the ones that they used to go into that image. So and sometimes you have to really look carefully. I believe if you look at the eagle, of course the one has the V, his wings, that's used for the main image. But then I looked at the second image, I'm like, what did they use from that? And I looked at it really carefully. They used the open beak and put that onto this bird and then added this background. So it's really kind of interesting to see, and that's where they're looking for the technical proficiency. So same thing with the flower. You can see the original one, yeah, it's just a regular plain old photo of a flower. It's not anything spectacular, but once he does his special stuff to this, it's amazing. It's just incredible. And you can see once again the color harmony is in there, and it really makes the image pop. From the original one, if you look at that original, you know, that flower is not really popping. But when you look at this final image, that's really very much standing out. So, and you can see all the detail, and you can see all the contrast, and it just makes a very striking image. So anyway, that's how you do the artist category. Definitely you will get dinged on if you have a very dark image or a very light image and they can't see the detail. They're very, very big on seeing the detail. So you can see the gentleman on the left, even though that's a very dark image, you can see all the detail in him. You can see the detail on his hat, on his shirt, on his beard, on his hair, his wrinkles on his face, his everything. You can see all the details. So that's what they're looking for. Same thing with the bride on the left. You can see all the detail in her dress. Now, notice that the sheer curtains on both sides, do you need to see the detail? No, because what's the subject? It's the bride. As long as you can see that detail and what that is, that should really be pointing out to you. Because if you had detail in the other stuff, then it wouldn't really be making the bride stand out. So anyway, using proper lighting, off-camera lighting, dramatic lighting helps you to do this type of thing as far as making sure you have the detail for your brights and dark images. Here's the, creating the mat. So we talked earlier about the mat. This is how you can prepare an image for presentation, and this is PPA's version of how to do that. I think everybody has different ways of doing it, but this, if you're new to this, then this would really help.
Yeah, and I'm going to add something.
Let me jump
Go ahead.
in for a second.
Sure.
I know what you're going to say, Danny, but go ahead.
If you want to say it, Julie, go ahead.
You were already saying it.
All right. So this Monday, there's a collaborative work day. Ann and Bruce put a collaborative work day on. It's a Zoom call. It's at 12 noon. You can sign up through the Maryland PPA website. And on Monday, Jacob Fell will be sharing with you guys, how to create a mat in Photoshop, and you actually create a mat action for print competition. That could really help you guys out in the future. So you might want to zoom in for that one on Monday, July 13th.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay. That would really help a lot. I could use that myself. I need to learn how to do the actions for that. Julie, did you have anything else to add on this one?
No, that's what I was going to add, because there was something in the chat about it. So I wanted
gotcha.
to make sure, but Danny was on top of it.
You go, Danny. Okay. So then we've come up with some of the images that we've entered, or that other people that we know that have entered, and just to show you like what you start with and what you can end up with. So here's some of our examples. So I showed you this one earlier. You can see the original image. See how the bride is got her back to the left. So when you're reading the image from the left to the right, you're going to come right in and you're going to be right at her back. So you're not really looking at them, into them. You stop right there. But when you flip the image around, you can see now it's flowing. That leading line is coming right in to them. Also, notice the sky is really bright and very distracting. So what else is white in this image? Oh, the bride. So you want to make sure that she stands out. So you want to make sure, and of course the same thing with the barn, the roof was kind of bright and that type of thing. So I just filled in some of the greenery to make that stand out a little bit better. And there's also a little house or some kind of thing over on the left-hand side, kind of almost above the bride and groom's head. So getting rid of that, because that really isn't adding anything to the picture. And then darkening it down helps to work as far as making images pop. You need to be careful in that, because I did try this a couple times. The first time was not dark enough, and the second time was too dark, and then I did finally like right in the middle, and then they liked it. So it's definitely something to be aware of.
So this is one of my images that I did, and we photographed her actually in her pool. But I did a lot of, it's probably hard to see on the screen, but I did a lot of retouching on the face. I cleaned up some of the stray hairs and the bright spots on her shoulder. Made sure there was detail in her shirt, so it didn't look muddy. And then I did some things to the background to try to enhance it. And some cropping as well.
And
but you'll
added those
notice
water droplets, those are really cool.
Right, and you'll notice the background, the mat just kind of blends into it. It doesn't take your eye away from the subject.
Correct. So this one was mine, and people were just loving this. They were like, oh, this is so awesome. This is so great. But notice the one on the left, you can see his tan shorts. And even the glove is kind of a little too bright. So I was told by the judges that I need to tone it down some. The other thing, once again, when you're reading from left to right, you're coming into his back. So we flipped it around so that when you come in now, you come in right to his face. And I cropped out his shorts because we don't need that. Notice where I cropped. I did not crop at his shoulder or at his elbow. I cropped in between the joints. So that's okay. And I darkened down the background. I think even the original, his hat was even brighter than that. So I had to darken down the hat because, of course, what do you want to be the brightest part? And that's his face. So that's what we did with that one.
This is another one of mine. This is little Cody here. He was nice fall day. We had those are fall trees in the background. But I saw there was some bright spots, up above. So I cropped some of that out. I darkened it down. I did enhance the detail in the dog's fur. I also flipped it because if you look at the image on the left, you'll see that he's looking off to the right. So where does your eye go? It goes to where he's looking. And your eye just goes right out of the image. So by flipping it, when you look at it, now you're looking right into his face.
You can see the definite difference between these two, obviously, besides what Julie just mentioned, but look how much the dog pops out on that image on the right. And that's what they're looking for. They want something that's popping. It doesn't have to be in your face, but it does need to pop. As far as looking at it from the original one, those leaves, which are very color coordinated with the dog, but the dog doesn't really stand out that much. But when she darkened them down, really helped a lot to make it pop. Okay, so this one was mine from our little trip to Italy. You can't really see that much. It looks kind of sloppy, really. But I love the flowers. I thought they were really pretty. But there's a lot of distractions here. So obviously there's a lady there. There's things on the wall that we don't really need. If you look at those windows up top, there's all kinds of lights shining and stuff like that. And the colors of the flowers really aren't popping as well as I would like. So I ended up doing this. Notice I darkened it down. The colors now pop. The things are gone from the windows. I think I had to straighten the image a little bit too. I darkened down the store on the right, and I think the judges wanted that a little bit lighter. They wanted to see a little bit more of that detail in there. I called it Old World Charm because I liked the old building looking to it. Now, if I was more talking about the shop, then I would really have been more focused on that with the lighting and that type of thing. And of course, once again, the matte, I just picked the dark brown that matched the shutters. So that seemed to work pretty well for that. And there's the beginning. And the other thing too is the keystoning. So hopefully you can see that a little bit, how it's not even on the sides. It kind of looks like it's tilted back a little bit. So you want to fix your keystoning too.
So this one's mine. This was my kid a long time ago. His first year hockey team. He's now graduated, but he was going out to play at the Verizon Center for the very first time. And I don't know if you've ever been there for a concert or an event, you'll know how huge that place feels. And I just, when I walked out at that level of the ice, I was like, wow, it just felt so different than being up in the stands. And so, and I captured this, and I was trying to find a way because I just knew there was something there. So I did, you can go to the next slide. So I did some cropping, cleaned up some things on some water droplets. I made sure there's detail in the ice, you know, in the highlights and the shadows, made sure there's details and shadows where they needed to be. You know, obviously way under the bleachers, you didn't need to see under there.
It looks like some nice sharpening also.
Yes.
And the lighting too, it looks like for their shirts.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
lightened them
I
up.
did some processing there.
Yeah. So that was a nice job there. Okay, this one was for one of my newborn clients, and I only had the brown, that light brown carpet looking thing for it to lay on, and it doesn't really match the hat. The other thing is the hat is kind of too big. It detracts from the baby. And then of course, I don't even have the thing all the way over on the left-hand side. So I'm gonna crop, I'm gonna change the direction so that he's facing the right way. And I made the hat smaller, so it's not so big and overwhelming. And then I also changed the color of that light brown to be a darker brown so that it matched his hat. And I carried that on to the mat, and you can see that I picked the light blue that was in the hat and used that as my stroke line. So there's the first and the last.
You also opened up his hand. It was curled up.
Oh, thank you.
Original.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I copied that from a different picture because I thought that didn't look right. It was more distracting from his mouth. So I found a different picture that had the hand flat. But I liked how he looked so peaceful here.
Oh, and this is my buddy. So yeah, I had a barn door, and I photographed him in front of it with I actually used a single light for this image, and there was probably a little bit of ambient light as well. But yeah, I cropped it down so it was, you know, much more focused on him. Brought out the detail in his fur. Enhanced the highlights. Also did a little bit of, you know, burning around the edges of the image in the background so that it's made his face really come out.
His eyes look great.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the original image and then you look at what you did, that looks so nice.
Thank you. Well, and I will say from this size, his nose looks okay, but at the time, this was a physical print at the annual competition, and it was a big 16 by 20, and my lens choice caused me to I used the wrong focal length, and his nose is not as sharp as his eyes and ears, and so it hurt it. It was, some judges were scoring it up high, and then there was one judge that got up and looked and said, oh, that nose is not sharp. So make sure with your animals that they're sharp from the nose to the back of the ears.
Yep. So this one here is one of our members. She had an idea in her head, and she wanted to do something special with this older lady. And you can see the original one. It's not very descript. Notice it's the horizon's crooked. I think she was just really more concerned about getting the lady. Was the main thing. So of course she lit the lady well and that type of thing, but you can see what she did otherwise. So see how nice that the colors are. So the lady had the brown skirt, so she kind of turned the grasses more tan instead of gold. And then she had the blue in her scarf, so she changed the chair to be blue. And then she called it the Age of Blues because, you know, an older lady and then the blues, that type of thing. And did put her on the third, you can see, and just kind of really filled in nicely and made it really focus on her.
Okay, and this is one of mine. And originally this was titled, "Can We Go Now?" because that's literally what he was saying. He was tired. And I just said, "Up, that's the title." Well, I did a lot of work to turn this into a merit image, but initially it didn't merit because I used a different title of, you know, "Can we go now?" When I changed it to "I'm bored," it earned a merit. So titles do help. They can take away and they can help. Go ahead and flip to the next slide. So this one I just felt was much stronger in black and white. His shoelaces and shoes were fairly bright, so I did do a lot of darkening down, cleaned up some of the really bright leaves, cropped out the street and the stop sign in the background.
It worked really
Yep.
well how you kind of made it like a long, thin picture too. It doesn't
Yep.
always have to keep the same
The
perspectives.
ratio, yeah.
The ratio, yeah.
Yeah, and I also just enhanced the highlights in his eye.
And you can see the color on this. See over here on the left-hand side, there's like the sun is shining through and it's on the leaves. So you have yellow and then you have green, you have brown, you have orange. He's wearing blue, you know, his shoes are different color, whatever. So by doing it black and white, you really focus on him, which of course is the focus of the whole image. And then that scored really well because I'm bored and it's focused on him. So this one is another one of our members. She has these fish and she took a picture, this one on the left. And when you look at that, that's not very impressive, right? But when she turned it into the one on the right, that is impressive. So she kind of obviously cropped in on it, but she also did some highlighting and some shadows on that, kind of gave the water some texture and really made this fish come alive, and it did score pretty well. And she changed the colors too, you can see, because obviously it's clear or whitish, yellowish, and she changed it more into the blue. Once again, the blue and the orange are complementary colors, so that makes it look really nice. Okay, I think that's it.
Nicely done. Nicely done.